Only one thing on any Tesla fan's mind today, and that is the fiscal year 2019 earnings call. I've got the salient bits chopped up and ready for you, so come take a walk with me. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 571 for January 30th, 2020. This show is sponsored by my supporter Richard. If you're in the market for a new Tesla, please consider using his referral code. Ask your salesperson to use code Richard174 or go direct to the web link ts.la/Richard174 and pick up a 1,000 mile supercharging credit for your new vehicle. Let's start off with the investor letter, as is custom. The main takeaway from the investor letter and Q4 as a whole is that Tesla was again profitable in the quarter by over $100 million and supported that with some gaudy cash numbers. Free cash flow for the quarter was just over a staggering $1 billion. Tesla also added nearly $1 billion to its coffers in standing cash, bringing that total to $6.3 billion in the bank. These earnings calls are beginning to be less of a big deal about how the company is doing financially and more about what info we can glean about current and future products. The next milestone for the company is to produce an annual profit for the first time in its modern era, and as you already know, I predict that they will do exactly that in 2020. With that out of the way, let's get to the earnings call itself, which is always the highlight of these shows. I'll say this ahead of time, in my almost 4 years of covering the company, this is probably the least exciting of the calls I've covered. Many of the questions, rightfully, were technical financial questions above my head and likely of little interest to this audience, or had actually already been answered previously by Tesla. However, there were still a few nuggets worth reporting on, to be sure. Firstly, within Elon's opening monologue, we get to hear some great information on Model Y. Turns out, all those prototype cars that everyone's been seeing lately may not be prototypes after all.
Regarding Model Y, it was only 10 months ago that we revealed a Model Y prototype, and now in January this year, we started producing Model Y in limited volumes already. This is thanks to a great effort of our engineering team, and we managed to achieve by far the highest energy efficiency of any electric SUV ever produced at 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour, which means Model Y all-wheel drive got an EPA rating of 315 miles. This improvement is reflected on the configurator as of today. This is above what we previously stated by a pretty significant margin.
Holy cats, folks. We might have been seeing production cars running around, disguised in plain sight. Best way to do it, right? On top of this, they've got an industry-leading 4.1 mile per kilowatt hour efficiency on this thing, and as a result, EPA range gets bumped up to 315 miles? Man, Tesla is just a wizard with battery and powertrain technology. But we'll get to more on that later. Elon now moves on to the Cybertruck, and well, how awesome it is.
For the Cybertruck, a few months ago we revealed the Cybertruck, and that went viral. And we try to build a product that is superior in every way without any preconceptions of how such a product should look. So it really just from the standpoint of what's the most badass, futuristic, armored personnel carrier that kicks the ass of any pickup truck. Basically, that's the goal. We want it to look like something that just came out of a sci-fi movie set from the future. And the demand has been incredible. We've never seen actually such a level of demand at this. We've never seen anything like it, basically. I think we will make about as many as we can sell for many years. So we'll sell as many as we can make. It's going to be pretty nuts. And I think actually that the product is better than people realize even. They don't even have enough information to realize just the awesomeness of it. It's just great.
Well, definitely no doubt it was designed with zero preconceived notions of how a truck should look. We'll see how that truly translates to sales. As I've mentioned, it's easy to generate demand when the deposit is only $100 and it's fully refundable. However, with Elon's last little comment there, it would seem that there may be even more that they haven't told us yet. Back to sales a moment, a question was brought up on how many they expect to sell. Given production is a year out essentially, it's not really time for that info, but Elon did give us some tasty tidbits on this without giving a number.
I think we don't comment on those detailed numbers, except uh, the demand is just far more than we could reasonably make in the space of, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or something like that. So the thing we're going to be really focused on is increasing battery production capacity, because that's very fundamental. Because if you don't improve battery production capacity, then you end up just shifting unit volume from one product to another, and you haven't actually produced more electric vehicles. So that's part of the reason why we have not, for example, really accelerated production of the Tesla Semi, because it does use a lot of cells, and unless we've got a lot of battery cells available, then say like accelerating production of the Tesla Semi would then necessarily mean making fewer Model 3 or Model Y cars. So we've got to really make sure we get a very steep ramp in battery production and continue to improve the cost per kilowatt hour of the batteries. This is very fundamental and extremely difficult. So I said we're going to do like kind of a battery day, just to kind of explain more about this and what our plans are. I think probably it's going to make sense to do that after the end of this quarter, because I think it's going to be kind of an intense end of quarter as it was last quarter. So tentatively, sort of in the April timeframe, we'll do a battery day and kind of go through what the challenges are. How do you get from here to, I don't know, a couple thousand gigawatt hours a year or something?
And there it is. We finally get the long-awaited date for the anticipated Battery Day. This will definitely be a huge show when it finally arrives, as I believe we'll get some amazingly detailed knowledge on the topic, just as we did with the Autopilot Day last year. Next up, we get comments on full self-driving completion. This has been a frequent topic as of late, as everyone wants these cars to finally get to driving themselves, and Elon had projected feature complete by the end of 2019. Well, that didn't quite happen, but he gives us a new time frame and again reiterates what that term means.
Well, I mean, to be precise, I said I was hoping it would be feature complete with full FSD by the end of last year. We got pretty close. It's looking like we might be feature complete in a few months. But feature complete just means like it has some chance of going from your home to work, let's say, with no interventions. So it doesn't mean the features are working well, but it means it has a above zero chance. So I think that's looking like maybe it's going to be a couple months from now. And what isn't obvious regarding Autopilot and full self-driving is just how much work has been going into improving the foundational elements of autonomy. The core Autopilot and Tesla Autopilot software and AI team is I think very, very strong and making great progress. We're really only beginning to take full advantage of the Autopilot hardware, the FSD hardware. So I think the apparent progress as seen by consumers will seem to be extremely rapid, but actually what's really going on in my head seems like I said is having the foundational software be very strong, having a really strong foundation, and then a really fundamental thing is moving to video training. So in terms of labeling with video and all 8 cameras simultaneously. This is a really, in terms of labeling efficiency, arguably like a 3 order of magnitude improvement in labeling efficiency.
So Elon has said this before, but it is worth repeating. Feature complete just means that all the features are in the software. It doesn't mean they're flawless or even that they work well. They're just there. Much like Autopilot has always been, we'll see steady improvement over time after the initial release. The last bits now get to Tesla's battery wizardry. Elon also gets a chance to take a shot at the competition.
Well, our powertrain is pretty Damn good. I mean, it's way better than anything else out there by a country mile. You know, it's worth noting, for example, that the Model S has like a 100 kilowatt hour pack. The Taycan has a 100, no, what, like 95 kilowatt hour pack. The Model S is steadily approaching 400 miles range. The Taycan has 200 miles of range. So we must be using that energy pretty efficiently, and the powertrain is a big part of that.
I would just say the focus is on cost on the powertrain. When we're thinking about technology innovations, it's how do we continue to drive the cost down?
Yeah.
And you know, that's through voltage is maybe one angle, but there are certainly others that just enable more power density and lower cost.
The flat powertrain is like mind blowing, I think. Yeah. Coming out later this year, end of the year probably. That's our goal. Get the flat powertrain out end of the year. And then it's going to be like, this is like alien technology. It's insane.
It's all about power.
I didn't even think we could do, yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought, well, there's no way. This kick-ass engineering team tells us all about hardcore engineering.
You gotta love the shot at the Taycan there. Basically the same battery capacity, basically half the range. And most importantly from that clip, the long-awaited Plaid powertrain will release this year. Of course, this will begin life in the Model S and Model X before it makes it to the new Roadster, so I'd love to see if I can manage to drive in one of these. Probably the fastest I'll ever get to drive a car, as I imagine there's no way I'll ever get behind the wheel of a new Roadster. It's not like they'll just let people take those for a spin, I'm sure. This last little blurb made me ponder on Tesla's lead in the market. Many detractors love to point out how young a company Tesla is, and how they don't know how to make cars. These next clips led me to an epiphany that I'll share on the other side of the clips.
Man, do we know a lot about batteries. Jeez.
I
can see that.
The only thing I would add is...
Sorry, go ahead.
The only thing that I would add is, you know, we do have a decade plus of experience of not just like what a cell should be, but how to integrate it into the product, and that's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And how to manage the cell and the module and the battery, and through different weather conditions and different environmental and different charge regimes. And wow, we really know a lot about batteries. Well, like I said, we're going to talk about this in Battery Day, which is probably April. And then a lot of these questions will be answered. I think it's going to be a very compelling story that we have to present. I think it's going to actually blow people's minds. It blows my mind, and I am, I know it. So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
So the epiphany I had is this. As I said, detractors love to tout the experience of legacy car makers in making cars. Tesla is only 10 years old, they say. They don't know how to build cars. This is partially true. Tesla was behind the curve in learning to make cars. But you know what they're darn good at? Making EVs from the ground up, and making them at a profit at that. No other manufacturers cracked that nut, and by my math, that puts Tesla about 10 years ahead of most of these legacy manufacturers in making the cars of the future, not the cars of the past. As far as I'm concerned, they can continue to be great at making obsolete technology, while Tesla continues building the future. Finally, Elon sums up his feelings for 2020.
In conclusion, when I think of what we have in front of us the next couple of years, we've got Model Y, we've got Giga Berlin, Tesla Semi, Solar Glass Roof, Cybertruck, some very exciting improvements in battery technology, full self-driving, got the next-gen Roadster, and probably a bunch of other products we'll come up with too. It's hard to think of another company that has a more exciting product and technology roadmap. So, super fired up about where Tesla will be, in the next 10 years. If you look back 10 years from today to 2010, we will produce approximately 1,000 times more cars in 2020 than we produced in 2010. 8,000. And we have also solar glass and solar retrofit and Powerwall, Powerpack, all those other things too. So where will we be in 10 years? Very exciting to consider the prospect.
certainly has an optimistic outlook, and why not? He's absolutely right about the excitement of the products launching near term with Model Y and Cybertruck, hitting two of the most popular segments in vehicle sales. The future is absolutely bright. That will do it for today's show. As usual, a really meaty show on this earnings call recap, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to all my patrons supporting the show at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits, and as always, a special shout out to all the super patrons supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, Todd Sullivan, Mitch Long, Zortech LED Canada, Morven Ogg, Raymond and Deborah Malkowitz, T Sportline, Travis and Cheyenne Rush, Chris Hovis, Craig Murphy, Vicky Kirk, Ricky Johnston, Nathan Garza, Paul Goona, Ed Patterman, and Sunil Joseph. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. Until next time, keep it charged and hit the road.